Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of KTN Neskdesk. My name is Edith Kimani. We have a lot prepared for you. Let's have a look at the highlights. South Sudanese ceasefire. Government and rebels agreed to a ceasefire in South Sudan. DNA for school head. Head teacher ordered to take DNA test to verify paternity. And also in this bulletin, we're talking about fish and rabbit. We'll be giving you the nutritional value found in those two animals. Let's kick off this bulletin in South Sudan, where the government and rebels of South Sudan have signed a ceasefire deal to end a month of fighting that has killed thousands of South Sudanese. The deal was brokered by negotiators in Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa, representing a ray of hope and progress for restoring normalcy since fighting broke out in December.
The peace deal signed Thursday evening stipulates pausing of fighting within the first 24 hours of its enforcement. The truce between government and rebels mark a landmark progress to forestalling the 5-week anarchy that has claimed thousands of lives, with thousands others fleeing South Sudan. The deal inked in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa was signed by representatives of President Salva Kiir and rebel chief Riek Machar.
This is critically important, not only to give peace a chance in our country, but also to pave the way for a serious national political dialogue aiming at reaching a lasting peace in South Sudan.
What really worries us in terms of whether the agreement on the cessation of hostilities will stick or not is the capacity of the rebel group.
The fighting that began December 15, 2013 was a culmination of political friction between Kiir and his former deputy Machar turned ugly. Nonetheless, the rebels are still insisting on the release of its 11 officials captured during the war. The agreement is thought to have addressed the issues of the detainees, though no timelines for their freedom have been given. The status of the detainees had been a major sticking point in the peace talks brokered by regional body IGAD.
Along with this conviction, we believe our comrades who are still languishing in jails are prisoners of their political conscience. Therefore, we remain and demand their release to join the next stage of the comprehensive and inclusive national political dialogue.
But as the peace deal was being signed, still some South Sudanese were fleeing the war-torn country. This as government forces battle rebels to force them out of their control centers. In the past week, government forces have recaptured 2 main cities under rebel control. The conflict has triggered humanitarian crisis with thousands fleeing their homes. The truce deal is to set up a ceasefire verification mechanism and allow unrestricted access to aid workers. The peace talks have been adjourned to resume February 7th to seeking a lasting solution in the world's youngest nation. What started as political differences between the president and his former deputy heightened to a full-scale war with reports of ethnic dimensions. Samogina, KTN.
Elsewhere, Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi yesterday told the National Assembly's Labour and Social Welfare Committee that he was in the dark on the controversial NSSF Tasia project until Kotu boss Francis Atwoli raised the alarm over the project. But Kambi also admitted that he lacks legal powers to suspend phase 2 of the controversial housing project.
When he appeared before the National Assembly's Labour and Social Welfare Committee, Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi seemed to tone down his criticism of Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli over the NSSF Phase 2 housing project in Tasia. Kazungu had earlier dismissed Atwoli's concerns as a case of sour grapes.
Immediately there was a whistleblower mentioned that there was a problem with the project. The first person to react was you, rather than the board or the management.
Atwoli came out strongly and gave names to this project is when I asked for a proper brief. And when I was briefed, I was convinced that the Procurement Act was followed up to the latter.
Atwoli has insisted that a decision to spend 5 billion shillings of pensioners' money on the housing scheme was illegal and amounted to fraud, claiming that the NSSF board never held a meeting to discuss approval of the funds. Indeed, on Sunday, Atwoli asked the president to sack Kazungu Kambi over Tasia project.
I just wanted us to start from that angle, that the board did not disclose to you what was going on at NSSF until you realized that there was a problem at the tail end.
Yes.
Do you agree with me?
Mr. Chair, I do agree with you. And one, Mr. Chair, as a cabinet secretary, I'm only involved when it comes to police matters. But when it comes to procurement, I think it's the management, Mr. Chair, not even the board. The first time this project was brought to my limelight was when it was advertised. So I called by the then acting trustee, Hope Mwashumbe. And then is when now she briefed me, this is a long time project. It started way back in 1992 up to now. So she told me she has authorized for it to be advertised and tendered.
The committee will continue grilling Kazungu Kambi over the housing project next week. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
A headmistress in Meru County, together with her former husband and child, have been ordered to take a DNA test to establish the paternity of the child. Now, it all started after David Gitonga was summoned by Imenti North Children Officer for allegedly failing to pay school fees for his 2 children. Armed with the bulk of school fees receipts, Gitonga told the children's officer that he had not failed to pay school fees for his 2 children and wondered why the children who stay with their mother had not reported into their respective learning institutions. However, he admitted that he could not take care of the 3rd child, who is 4 years old, claiming the child was not his. Gitonga told the officer that he separated with his wife 5 years ago, ruling out the possibility of being the father of the 4-year-old.
Communication breakdown. The parent has paid fees for the children, and the children are just keeping at home without going to school. And that is why we come in handy as the children's department, or so that you can bring together the 2 parents and see where the problem is. But now, so that this kind of scenario does not occur again, I would actually request the parents to put their differences aside in the best interest of the children.
Boarding a matatu is fast becoming an undertaking that is fraught with danger. Carjacking incidents have led many bus companies to adopt various methods of tackling the rising insecurity. But how effective are their methods?
It used to be easy, boarding a matatu from point A to point B, and all one worried about was whether they had enough in their wallets to pay the bus fare. Now traveling in public service vehicles has become a dangerous undertaking. Passengers heave sighs of relief when they arrive safely at their destinations. Most of the city's population knows 1 or 2 people who are in a matatu that was carjacked. These incidents have colored the way in which the matatu sector now operates. Entrepreneurs in Isili are doing a booming business, this despite the fact that Isili has come under attack several times in the recent year. Passengers here seem to have resigned themselves to fate. Boarding matatus at will, no security checks are organized here. All that matters is to fill up the matatus and then hope for the best. A section of bus and matatu companies are taking a different approach. They have employed attendants who frisk and search, brandishing a wand that they wave over would-be passengers before allowing them to board the matatus. But here too there is a loophole. Female attendants are required to frisk female passengers, and when only the male attendant is left behind, reluctant to subject the women to uncomfortable searches, he will search handbags and let them through. Other bus companies, dissatisfied with this approach, have taken it to a higher authority, the police. A section of matatus, especially those traveling long distances, have an agreement with the police that sees all vehicles pass through the central police station before embarking on their journeys. Every day, about 300 vehicles are said to check in here before leaving. It is a number that boggles the mind.
This is an exercise which started all along in 2004, up to date. And I can assure you, since we started doing this, we don't have cases of carjackings emanating from Nairobi to Nakuru. And it is doing well. Leave alone that, we even go as far as doing searches within the city center, NCBD, random searches.
Gari yote ikitoka Isliki upande kama Nakuru, ama yani gari yote ya usafiri inafaa kupitia kwa checking ya serikali, kwa sababu ni very important. Gari kitoka huko kienda saa mtu hata akiingia kwa kiyoga kitu kama bomu hivi ama kurnet, hakuna mtu anaweza jua.
Inakupea security, inakuhakikishia kwamba unasafiri na watu wale wako sawa, you are assured of your security.
It is not clear whether these measures have made a great difference, given that carjackers often board matatus along the way. It would, however, appear that for millions of Kenyans who have no choice but to use matatus, at the very least, the security checks provide reassurance. Wilkinson Abwa, KTN.
With increasing poverty among Maasai community, many parents are still marrying off their daughters at an early age, denying them a chance to get the education. Such is the story of a young girl in Taita Taveta County who escaped from her parents' home and is now looking for assistance to continue with her education.
This is Maungu village within Taita Taveta County, where many girls are married off before the age of 14 years. It is in this homestead that one night 13-year-old Susan Neserian escaped from after her parents wanted to marry her off to an old man.
Nimekuwa nikikaa hapa Maungu about 2 years. Ila na masomo at long last takuja kuwasaidia wao. Nilikuwa sikuwa nataka kusoma nisaidike mimi mwenyewe. Nataka nisome pia niwasaidie.
Susan managed to get in touch with the chief Envoy District Education Officer and was later taken to St. Jude Academy, where she completed her primary school exam and managed to score 245 marks. However, Susan has never gone back to her parents' home.
Nilipomaliza shule, nilipomwambia kama anaweza kufika nyumbani kwao, maybe akae na wazazi wake, akakataa. Akasema mimi nikienda huko kitu nitafanywa ni kuozwa. Na mimi singependa kuozwa, ningependa kuendelea na masomo yangu.
When asked about the incident, her father admitted that at the time, indeed he wanted to marry her off, but it was due to poverty.
Msasa anafikiria msichana anaenda vizuri, lakini sasa akifika kama hiyo kidato cha kwanza cha pili, sina nguvu ya kuweza kumsomesha. Sasa ni heri hata amue tu kwamba msichana wangu nitamwoza, lakini kwa vile tumeona kwamba ameamua kabisa yeye na moyo wake kwamba anataka kusoma, ndiposa tumewatia majukumu serikali wang'ang'ani. Hata hivyo serikali sasa hiyo wakituambia kwamba bado wako pamoja nasi tusaidiane, tunataka mtoto msichana asome.
Many parents like Neserians are blinded by the lucrative bride price of cattle, which increases their wealth or saves them from poverty. Maasai culture calls for the man who wants to marry a girl to start paying the girl's father with cattle once he has identified the girl and booked her. Also, the parents look at early marriage as a relief of the economic burden of supporting their daughters. Susan Neserian is now calling for anyone who's able to assist her continue with her studies in order to join Form 1 for her secondary school education. Najma Ismail, KTN.
Let's have a look at what's happening in Nyeri, where rabbit farming is a venture that farmers are being encouraged to take up, as it is a profitable and easy to manage business. At a workshop in Nyeri held by the Rabbit Republic Company and the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, farmers in rural areas have been asked to take up rabbit rearing, as its meat, skin and even urine can generate a meaningful income. Karen Derry with that story.
While many delicacies do find their way onto our tables, rabbit meat is yet to rightfully claim its place as a popular consumable in Kenya. Though the number of rabbit consumers has gone up, there are deliberate efforts to enlighten farmers on why they need to rear rabbits. The Rabbit Republic Company, in collaboration with the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, has embarked on a project that will reach out to farmers in rural areas to teach them about rabbit rearing. Professor Esther Morogi Kahangi of JKUAT says helping them venture into viable business will empower them.
Because we found a company that was ready to buy rabbit products for the farmers, because they have also an enormous market abroad. And therefore, that is why now we have come here for this company to train the rural women whom we have trained at JKUAT to start rabbit farming as a business, because the market is already there.
All products obtained from rabbits can generate an income. These goods on display here at a workshop in Nyeri have been made from a rabbit skin.
Currently, we have market for meat and skin. However, products like urine and the blood and the manure is also marketable, but we have not yet gone to that because we are adding item per item, and also every item has its own specifications. We've been able to meet the requirements for the skin and the meat. We are researching on urine now, and we are researching on how to get the blood, which is used in the growth of microbacteria in laboratories.
Though the ready market is for the meat and skin, its urine is said to be in demand for its use as an effective fertilizer. Rabbit Republic and JKUAT hope to reach out to more farmers in all the 47 counties to convince them that rabbit rearing is a profitable venture. Well, whether this is a transformation from quail farming to rabbit rearing, this we can't quite say. But they say with the rabbits, nothing goes to waste, from the meat to the skin, even to the urine that is used as a fertilizer. They say this is quite a profitable venture. Carol Derry for KTN in Nyeri.
Well, thank you, Karen Derry, for that. Let's now move to Bomet, where, believe it or not, concerns have actually been raised that residents of Bomet County are not eating enough fish. This is partly because there is over-reliance on ugali and milk. So to address this, a fish eating campaign, yes, a fish eating campaign has been launched in Bomet County by none other than the Governor, Isaac Ruto. Now, as you can see from your screens, it was not just a launch full of speeches and quiet listening crowds, but actual eating of fish as well. The governor also appealed to the residents to start rearing fish for consumption and commercial purposes to meet demand for nutritious food varieties. I'm never asked to cover such conferences. It's always just sitting and listening, never eating. Let's have a look at what's happening elsewhere, where 3 Ethiopians have been arraigned in court in Narok after they were arrested yesterday for being in Kenya illegally. They were allegedly on their way to South Africa via Silale. The 3 appeared before Principal Magistrate Evans Kitonga, where the prosecutor asked for them to be remanded in custody until Monday so that an interpreter could be found. The 3 could neither express themselves in English nor Kiswahili. According to the DCIO Narok County, Peter Ndubi, the Narok Highway is being used by foreigners who want to sneak in and out of the country.
We are made to understand that our way is a transit road for the foreigners who are traveling out of the country, crossing to South Africa. So last week we arrested an American who was imposting as a CIA agent, and yesterday we broke through to get these Ethiopians who are going past Silale to Tanzania, then to South Africa. We can say that we are alert. We may not leave anything to pass through. They should know that this is the time of terrorism, and everybody is aware.
We go on a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll definitely be talking about Sandro Rosell. If you don't know who that is, coming up shortly. And if we have time, Mr. Director, please, then we'll tell you why Justin Bieber is perhaps even more famous than he already was. We'll be right back. All right, remember the website to look for is www.standardmedia.co.ke. I'm just looking for the Did You Know fact of the day. It's one that really excites me. Did you know, oh, there we go. Did you know that the BMW M5, by the way, I am not a petrol head, I don't even like cars that much. Betty Kialo can go on and I will zone out. But this is very exciting for me. Did you know that the BMW M5 is so quiet that the company plays fake engine noises through the speakers to remind the drivers of their car's performance? Yeah. Well, that's where we wind up this edition of KTN Newsdesk.